Cultural resources are anything that has to do with human existence, and in this case, human existence on a landscape. And it could be anything from lithic material found at Lindenmeyer site, stone circles, to old farming equipment, the actual structures that are on the land, and telling those stories and capturing those stories so that we can preserve our heritage through our cultural story. Obviously, hearing the story from the person who experienced it is invaluable. We oftentimes lose those stories, or we learn them from secondhand, and by being able to talk to the people directly about their experience on the land is an asset to the community. They're important because they tell the story of who we are and why we're here, and it tells it from many perspectives.
There is something special about being on the spot where 10,500 plus years ago, somebody else was there, and they had a life. They had families, they had children, they had histories, they had descendants. Archaeology tells us about who we are. It tells us about the human condition. It tells us about our past as a species. And it's a story that I think is important for everybody.
Archaeological sites are living, breathing entities, and you can take that from a spiritual perspective, a religious perspective, that these are people's spirits are being venerated there, in our breathing, living. Just this summer alone, we ended up with over 150 new sites on the Soapstone property. So we went from about 10 to 150, and that's just, we ran out of time. I mean, we could have kept finding new sites. So finding things isn't the problem, it's finding time to record them all. A lot of the reason we do what we do is just to let people know that people have been here for 13,000 years, and it's giving them a voice.
There's a lot of meaning to us in that we know that our ancestors were here many years ago, and then there were other people that were here too. What remains is that identity of being a Native American.
Our younger people need to have an identity. Who am I? Where did I come from? Where am I going? I think that if handled in certain ways, that we could use this as part of the education for the younger people. We can show them this is where we come from. 10,000 years ago, 100 years ago, 500 years ago, this is us, you and me.
They're looking to see if we're bringing their calves back, is what they're doing. We've been up here 40 years, and you could probably come up here and stay for 2 weeks, and you'd be lucky if there's one car went by, and it's generally the cowboy. Probably our memories, even today, is some of the things we've accomplished here. When we got a lot of this land, there wasn't any water on it, no wells and what have you, and we've drilled the wells down there ourselves and built the house and developed the springs, and it seemed like we just kind of brought the place to life, and it was a good thought and a good memory in order to be able to do that. I think every rancher or farmer is thinking of the land all the time, because that's what you got to work with. It's just like you taking care of your automobile or anything else. Well, you kind of feel like you want to take care of the land.
I always heard that city girls make the best farm girls because they don't know all the work that's involved. Now that my husband's passed away, I run the ranch myself. Everything's more difficult. Ranching is a gamut of things. I mean, it's livestock, it's horseback riding, ATVs, irrigating, running tractors. It's, you know, all those things and many, many more. Raising your children, which is such a great thing in the country, to raise a family. Because the children learn responsibility, they learn nature, they learn wildlife, they learn the love of animals, and they also understand what death means. It's so important that we keep our Western traditions. That's the reason a lot of people come to the West, because they like our way of life. You gotta do what you do and hope it works, or you're out. If you don't enjoy what you're doing, you know, you're not happy.
I think it's a good contemplative place too, you know, and obviously there's a metaphysical aspect of this too that can't be ignored, you know, of questioning, you know, who we are and what we can learn from thinking about the past.
As we know, we all get older, and sometimes those stories are forgotten, or the stories are lost completely, and it's imperative for future generations to learn about the ranching lifestyle of Soapstone and what the native perspective is on that area. Why should people care about that? Because we are part of that story. We live in the landscape that we're talking about, and we are contributing to that landscape and to the cultural climate of our community every day.
The museum is outside rather than inside now. I think that's one way of looking at it too. It's still a museum.